Dr. Gemma Obath is going to give us some opening remarks, and then we're going to quickly have experience sharing on challenges in the Global Fund and the processes, and we're going to have Katlego giving us some experiences, Sisonke from South Africa, and Rosemary Cassava SWAP also will also give us some experiences, and also Sopuku from Senegal, this Francophone West Africa. We're going to hear some experiences there. And then we're going to run quickly through the overview of the community engagement technical assistance, examples of high quality applications. And Maria is going actually to be taking us through this. Then we'll have a section on question and answer. And then from there, we will have key steps, processes to be followed for the development of community engagement tier requests, and how the platform can support you. EANNASO is going to actually do that for you. And then we're going to have a presentation from Cheso. This is one of our communities who actually received the community engagement tier to just tell us how actually to have a feel so that we can, and then we are going to have another session of question and answer in about 10 minutes where we are going to wrap this up, and the Rame is actually going to lead this session for us. Rame is just our partner platform in the Francophone, and we do things almost very together as brothers and sisters. Yes, next slide. Thank you very much. So I think at that particular point, we'll be co-moderating this session with Glory. So I will allow Glory now to come in to call in the presenters following the brief presentation we just had on who is coming in first. So Glory, allow me to hand over this to you as you call in the presenters. I believe we are starting with Dr. Gemma Obath to give us some opening remarks before we actually proceed with the agenda. So over to you, Glory, to actually welcome presenters.
Thank you so much, Onesimus. Welcome, Gemma, for the opening remarks. Gemma will introduce herself, but just to inform you that Dr. Gemma is representing from Global Fund as coordinator the platforms for the Global Fund. Welcome, Dr. Gemma.
With the Global Fund's Community Engagement Strategic Initiative, which is why we are here today. So this is just to welcome you all to this very exciting webinar. We have an exciting opportunity with the Global Fund's new strategy starting next year. It's a new 6-year strategy, and it has a big emphasis on key populations and their meaningful involvement and leadership. In fact, this is a new word that the Global Fund is using. It's not just about participation, it's about key population leadership. So I like that emphasis, and it gives us more opportunity to be in the driver's seat, to be directing programs, leading programs, implementing programs, and influencing decisions. So that's starting next year. The new strategy is in 2023. Also starting next year is a new cycle of the Global Fund's funding model, a new investment round. So in December of this year, all the countries will be getting their allocation letters, and we will find out when we apply for the new money. That is another big opportunity for sex worker networks, key population networks, to influence how that money is spent. So it's a good time for us to learn today about how to get involved in all of that. So I'm just going to present now the overview of the Global Fund's Community Engagement Strategic Initiative, and then I'll pass back. So very quickly, we have been doing this work as the Global Fund since 2014. This is when we began investing specific money to make sure that key populations and other community groups, people affected by the 3 diseases, can participate meaningfully, can influence, can be involved, can lead Global Fund programs and decisions. We are now in the third cycle. That is us now on the right-hand side, the big red strawberry. That is the third cycle of our investment in community engagement. So what is the... Wait for the microphones to be muted, thanks. Thank you. So the primary objective of this initiative is to strengthen engagement of civil society and communities in all Global Fund processes. This includes developing national strategic plans, developing funding requests, grant implementation, and also monitoring and oversight. We have 3 different components which allow us to achieve this goal. The first component, which is the green, what do I call that? A cog. The green cog is around short-term technical assistance. That is what we are talking about here today. We also have the purple cog, component 2. These are 3-year investments in global key population networks and other organizations. You guys probably know about NSWP, the Global Network of Sex Work Projects. They are one of our partners under this project. Sorry, colleagues, I'm just waiting until the muting is taking place so that you can hear me. And then we have component 3, which is the regional coordination and communication platforms. And EANNASO and RAME are 2 of our partners for the African region. And that is why they have brought you all together today. I won't go into these details so we can catch up on time, but each of the components has specific objectives. You can see we are focusing on raising voices of key populations, ensuring key populations can influence processes, ensuring that we can, sorry, my thing is running away with me. Ensuring key populations can generate and use data, that we have the right knowledge and information, we have the skills and the capacity to engage, and that we have access to support when we need it. Technical assistance is kind of like another way to say help, support to achieve your goals. Okay. These are the partners that we work with. You can see we have 26 technical assistance providers. They're listed there. Maybe you know some of these organizations. I think I know that you will definitely know some of these names. We have key population organizations there, human rights organizations, organizations of people living with HIV, young people. So a nice group of expert organizations. I think what's nice about this program is all of the support is coming from one civil society or community organization to another. So any help that you get, it's coming from a peer, someone who understands the realities of where you work and the work that you do, someone who understands, community issues, human rights issues. It's not like a stranger consultant coming in from some random place. So that's the nice part about our technical assistance program. My next slide just has some illustrative activities from the different regions. We are focusing on Africa today. So you can see that there are some planned activities to strengthen community-led monitoring in West Africa, in Côte d'Ivoire. And we have plans to influence national strategic plans. I know some countries are starting to update those at the moment. We have plans to strengthen engagement on country coordinating mechanisms. That can be very key, a very key place to influence decisions. and build capacity in human rights and training. So things like that are happening in the African region through our programs. This is the end of my presentation. We have some links here if you want to follow to find out more information, but I will stop there and help us to catch up on time. So back to you, Glory, Chair Lady.
Thank you so much, Gemma. Thank you for that very well informative presentation. And now I take this opportunity to welcome our colleagues from ASWA community who will actually share with us some experiences and challenges that they have been facing when they're engaging in the global funding processes. And this is actually like to set the pace on what has been happening and why they have been even failing to apply for the TA, so that the next presenter, when he's coming, we can now understand and see that those challenges that they have mentioned, they can actually be resolved through accessing the TA. So this time I welcome Katlego to start with. Katlego, welcome. Roderick, you can present his presentation. Thanks. Katlego, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
You're welcome.
Yes. As all that, this is Katlego. The camera is not well, but I'm going to mute due to data is going to interrupt. So it's best that I mute the video. So as everyone, my name is Katlego Rasibitse. I'm the National Sex Worker Leadership in the national sector in South Africa. Next slide, please. So this is some of the overview of the sex worker sector that was established within the Civil Society Forum through the South African National AIDS Council. The sector has about 9 members in South Africa, and the 8 it's 8 now, but currently 1 is PEPFAR and 8 are global funded, and all members are currently all the previous global fund recipients. That on its own, in 2016, Sisonke, which is now the hosting organization, started to be officially being sitting in SANAC, which the hosting started in 2014. So meaning there was a 2-year period after we developed the sector. It took us from 2014, 15, then 16, that's when we were officially welcomed into the South African National AIDS Council as the sex worker sector. And then by then, if everybody will remember, that was our first development of the National Strategic Plan around HIV, TB, and STI, which was the comprehensive plan. But one thing that I'm glad, up to now, as we are in 2016, the sector has managed to develop 3 national strategic plan within just a short of, clearly 6-year period. And also that the sector has also been consulted through the consultations process, which is, we heard that now we're having a new national strategic plan that's going to include almost every key population, which is kind of like going to be one of the first kind of the plans, like in terms of the previous one, which I'm glad the sectors have been consulted between for the coming the grant. Next slide, please. The involvement of the KPs in South Africa. As we know, in 2016, the AIDS conference came to Durban here in South Africa, whereby like sex workers were actually like attacked by a lot of negativity, because of everyone felt like for sex worker in South Africa to actually attend the first conference, there were going to be, I remember one media quoted, there's going to be lots of sex happening in Durban. And within 2 days on our arrival in Durban, the media also picked it up to say the whole city of Durban, they were out of condoms. So these are some of the negativity that we might find that at our involvement as KPs in South Africa, we might also experience. And then not only that, around 2018, the sex workers in South Africa had an opportunity to start participating in the Global Fund CCM and the Oversight Committee. And that on its own, it led to whereby the implementation of the PLF program through the Global Fund, PRs, that is within the sex workers leadership also. Next slide, please. I'm trying to rush because I'm having just 10 minutes to do this. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. So these are some of the challenges that I would like to also now highlight. Next slide. Can you go back? Challenges, go back again. Then bullet one. Challenges, please. So if while we're waiting for the yes, okay, thank you. If you look around in the global fund resources that are not available, especially in terms of male sex workers in the country, that on its own, it has led us as the sector to sit with committees in maybe, for example, in Geneva, to make sure that the inclusion of male sex workers in the previous programs were visible, as much as they were not necessarily excluded, but there was no resources that were allocated for male sex workers in the country, and that was done around male sex workers in the country. And also, most of the program that geographic coverage was mainly in South Africa. Their focus will be in the main pieces of the data will be collected, and that data will say then investments done in that process. And again, we have experienced a challenge of some of it led to whereby like those who were meant to provide these necessities were not necessarily like providing that, because we know when it comes to sex work, condom and lubricants are the entry point. And also the COVID-19 impact on sex workers, it was a huge challenge, because of you might find lots of sex workers, they ran out of food. And as sex workers running out of food, it was quite difficult now for us to even approach the Global Fund PR to ask for to provide sex workers food, because now everybody was locked down, and some sex workers were already adhering to medication, and some were already now defaulting because of they couldn't take medication, especially TB and HIV and other chronic illness. You know, food is essential for the body. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So these are some of the challenges, success in the Global Fund as a sector. And one of the challenges was for the Global Fund committees to actually, through the civil society, make sure that the sex worker sector is participating fully. When I'm saying fully, I mean like in all the committees of the Global Fund in South Africa, sex worker participate fully, and also the 3 NSPs that I've already mentioned, and also the consolidation that includes sex workers and all the processes of the Global Fund. This includes also the request for fundings, and also the 1990 targets. It was one of the successes around making sure that, you know, the sector also participates in that. And not only that, we have also seen the CR19 community program on the documentation of human rights, where the sector is fully, participating. This is, next slide, please. My network.
Have we lost you, Katlego? I can hardly hear you from my side. Yeah, seems we've lost Katlego. Can you hear Katlego, Glory?
No, I think we have lost him.
You know what? Yeah,
It looked like his internet was not stable.
That's right. I think that
And this was actually his last
slide, eh?
slide. Yeah.
Okay, I think that was a very good presentation from Katlego with some very good lessons here. Storytelling with civil society spaces, involvement of sex workers-led organizations, NGOs, consultation on the RFF of the Global Fund, and the support from the Global Fund peers to the sex workers sector. And this is really good. That means if the Global Fund peers actually provide support or work with the sex worker sector, then this is exactly what we are actually looking for, that the Global Fund grants in country will be able actually to reach the most needed groups. So thank you very much, Katlego, for this presentation. I know you've had some challenges in the network, but most of your presentation we've actually listened to. Probably Glory can move on to the next presenter.
Thank you, Mlewa. And our next presenter is Rosemary Cassava from Kenya.
Yeah, good afternoon. Maybe we need to have one of the ASWA members project my presentation.
Yeah, we can see it is presented.
You can proceed, Rose.
The country coordinator. However, yes, now I can see it, I can access it. Yeah, so I already did my introduction. I choose not to repeat what the former person who went ahead of me spoke about. So the next slide, please. Are we able to move to the next slide? Okay. Are you people able to see the next slide? Have I lost everyone? Okay, here we are. That's a photo. Community engagement. So
yeah, I think it's not you alone. I was also about to ask. The network seems to be really shaky. I can hardly follow her. Can you hear us?
oh God, what has happened?
Rosemary, can you hear us? Yeah, I can
So
see
is it my
Rosemary's
speaker which has an issue, or what is the problem?
I can see Rosemary has typed.
I'm unmuted, and maybe you check from your end. Please check from your end. I'm unmuted.
Yeah, we can hear you, but you keep on breaking. So probably it's a reception of the network.
So now can you hear me?
Yes,
I've heard
now
the
that's
phone on
better.
a different.
Yes, that's better now.
It's better. Sorry for
Yes.
all that. So I started by saying my name is Rosemary Cassava. I am a sex worker living in Kenya, Nairobi, working with an organization called SWAP Ambassadors, and I also represent the key population at the country coordinating mechanism. I'm serving my second, I believe, and the last term. What else am I supposed to say? Now, one among, I just want to share my experiences. I thought the slide would move, but it looks like they've just stuck to where we had one meeting, a recent meeting. So I'll begin with the introduction, the responsibilities of the KCM, the purpose of the key population of the KCM, the oversight duties, the information necessary for oversighting, and the achievements. And I know we have also challenges that we faced during this. Can you hear me, please? And whoever is sharing the screen is really, so I joined the KCM years ago. Like I said, I'm serving the second and last time. I was selected through a very competitive process to represent the key population, of course, forwarded election, but I think I've also been re-elected, so I'm serving the last term. I said the KCM has two committees, the management committee and the oversight committee, and we are privileged to have a sex worker sitting at the oversight committee, that is me. As a KCM member, we have had open communication channels to facilitate the sharing of information with our community members continuously and regularly. We are also supposed to have quarterly meetings where I have participated in all the quarterly meetings. I've been called upon and we're able to participate. My alternate has been. So now what do I do? I'm actually shouting. So now can you people hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you, Rosemary.
So it looks like some are not hearing me, some are hearing me.
I can hear you quite well.
I hear you too.
Start writing
We
in
can
the
hear you nice and clear.
Sometimes the line is breaking.
Yeah, my line is breaking, so I don't know what to do. I've actually switched from my laptop to my phone.
Yeah, it's much better, Rosemary. I can hear you quite clearly now.
I had to do the switching. So probably I need to go straight away to the challenges so that I don't take much of your time now that you guys say you're not hearing me well.
Okay.
Some of the challenges that we've had is that we have very limited sex worker-led organizations that are supported through the Global Fund. One is because we got into the KCM as sex worker representatives a little bit late, and we took time to understand the process of the grant application and what they look at. But now we are at least in a better position because we know the processes. We know when the call is out, we were even able to engage the PRs in coming up with an affirmative action during the call for proposal, whereby most of us joined consortiums with other KP-led organizations, and we applied, and 3 of the applications that were supposed to be KP-led were successful. And now they're in the process of implementing the non-funding model 3 with key population and specifically sex workers as partners in that application. However, we'd really wish to equip ourselves with our capacity to be able to apply for the next grant when we have been able to, we have capacity built organizations, we have been able to strengthen our organizations to be able to compete with the other organizations during the next funding model. For the community technical assistant grant, I would say what has limited most of the organizations from application is that we had limited knowledge until we had our representatives at different platforms at the KCM. We had limited knowledge of how that grant works, who is supposed to apply for that grant, the period of implementation of that grant. Do the people who are applying for that grant, do they have to be SRs or non-SRs? Who is supposed to give supportive letters maybe for that grant? So there was very limited knowledge about that grant, but this time around, I believe we have some knowledge, and we would wish to really get into the process of that application anytime that we feel the gap, depending on what we wish to be supported. And yeah, that is why we have not really been applying for that technical assistant grant. And I think there was a lot of misinformation. Maybe it's only given to networks. Maybe it cannot go down to the grassroots organizations. Maybe this is what you need to understand. So we're in the process of sensitizing and education our community members about the grant, who holds the grant, how it is applied, the proper processes, and we hope that we can be able to adapt and be able to tap into that and be able to apply to that. Another challenge is that sex workers' priorities were not fully responded and supported, and I would say captured in this funding model that we are applying, especially sex workers who inject and use drugs. We had hoped that they will be considered, but during the grant making process, we really had a lot of push and pulls in that process. And we hope that we will continue pushing for the same to ensure that in the next grant yet again, we are going to ensure that sex workers are meaningfully engaged and meaningfully supported. Another challenge is that we identified gaps in the key programmatic and technical areas that were not fully addressed. You find that the call was specific to organizations, that some calls were geared towards reviewing the existing organizations, and very limited calls were geared towards supporting communities and supporting, I would say, specifically sex workers, or a deliberate effort of being able to work with sex workers in the grant that that is going to get the TB grant, given that HIV and TB are kind of interrelated, but the calls that came out were not during that communities, or specifically sex workers are able to apply for that grant. Another challenge we had is that sex workers were not aware of the process of Global Fund funding request. However, now we have the knowledge, I would say, in the last grant making, we had a sex worker at the core team of the funding, and she was able to articulate some issues of the communities and some issues of the sex workers. However, with very limited data gaps and for this reason, that's why we feel the technical assistant grant may be able to support us to come up with informed data to be able to influence or maybe be able to push for that support. Another challenge we had is the organizations. Most of our organizations are at the grassroots. One, because we don't have the funding to be able to have a strong organizations governance systems that are really strengthened. So that is a gap that we have, and we are hoping that through the RSSA can be able to benefit in that. So we are pushing organizations, or different organizations are able, from the network level all the way to the grassroots, are able to tap into this grant, and they're able to be supported. Challenge, and it's still, we are hoping, we're even having engagements right now as to how we can come up with innovations of being able to ensure that even the communities, even the sex workers are reached with the TB grant, so that in the spirit of leaving no one behind. There was no clear structures of supporting reached and unreached key population sex workers. No clear structures. No clear structures of supporting migrant sex workers in the massage parlors. We have gaps of sex workers, young sex workers, but we find that we don't have a clear structure or a deliberate effort of ensuring that they are engaged and supported in the fight of HIV, TB, and malaria. Again, that's another gap that we are pushing upon. I want to look at the achievements. I don't know if I missed the achievements, the slide of the achievements. Yes, so at the oversight level, we have been engaged in overseeing the implementation of activities of Global Fund, including approving major changes, especially during COVID. We were able to come up with strategies of how money may be reallocated to cater for the needs of communities, and specifically sex workers from the mainstream implementing partners. And at least we had some sex workers living with HIV, or some sex workers who are really hit by COVID, getting cash transfers, food support, COVID, PPE support, and training and sensitization still ongoing about COVID. We were also able to evaluate the Global Fund program, and when necessary. So also we have been able to evaluate how the performance of Global Fund is because we have one of us representing us at the oversight and reporting to the communities and also to the PRs through the KCM about where we feel that in these areas, especially now that we're having challenges of condoms, lubricants, test kits. This is the entry point of most community members in different programs and in different levels. And when we are having those gaps, we have been able to engage the PRs that are supplying and are supposed to be doing that procurement to come up with a way to be able to mitigate that. We've also ensured
we have lost you, Rosie.
they change the processes and the changes that are needed to ensure that we are meaningfully involved at different platforms. Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Rosemary. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Without wasting time, I would like also to invite Sepuko from Senegal also to share experience. Colleagues, if you have questions, just type it on the chat box. Then we will ask our presenter to respond later. Sepuko, welcome.
She's Lala Mati.
Welcome,
Bonjour.
Lala, sorry.
Oui, bonjour à tous. La présidente de la donc, je suis également
Morning.
du réseau national de population. Donc, je viens vous partager mon expérience. Oui. D'accord. Vous m'entendez maintenant? Vous m'entendez maintenant? Allô? C'est bon? D'accord. Donc, je dis que je suis dans la matériau de l'association Untitled. Je suis également la vice-présidente du réseau national. Donc, je viens vous faire partager mon expérience en tant que père qui a plus de... Oui? Ok, c'est bon. Je dis que je viens vous faire une présentation, de partager mon expérience en tant que père qui a pu délivrer une assistance technique par rapport au Fonds mondial pour l'année 2018 et 2019 avec l'appui de NSWP. C'est bon? Oui, diapo. Voilà. Pour les missions d'assistance technique que j'ai pu effectuer en 2018 et en 2019, les pays concernés étaient le Sénégal, le Rwanda et la RDC. Donc, les cibles, c'était les travailleuses de sexe au niveau national, les représentants des travailleuses de sexe au CCM. En 2019 aussi, les activités d'assistance technique que j'ai pu fournir à mes pairs se sont déroulées en ligne. Donc, pour les trois pays, le Sénégal, l'association, c'était André-Tifou, le Rwanda, c'était FADA, la RDC aussi, c'était OTAS. Diapo. Diapo, s'il vous plaît. Voilà, le nombre de personnes ayant participé aux activités d'assistance technique, c'était 55 leaders travailleurs de sexe du Sénégal, de la République démocratique du Congo et du Rwanda. Il y avait également 10 personnes venant d'organisations de la société civile de chaque pays. Il y avait également une rencontre régionale qui s'est tenue au Kenya, qui a regroupé 16 travailleurs de sexe venant de 7 pays, comme le Soudan, la Tanzanie, le Sénégal, la RDC, le Kenya, le Zimbabwe et également le Rwanda. Diapo. Donc, il y avait beaucoup de points de discussion par rapport à ces missions d'assistance et nous avions parlé du nouveau modèle de financement pour le Fonds mondial qui est conçu pour être plus efficace afin d'obtenir plus d'impact sur les 3 maladies. On avait parlé aussi de la stratégie du Fonds mondial de 2017-2022 qui comprenait les objectifs que tout le monde sait, c'est-à-dire maximiser l'impact contre le VIH, la TB et le palud, construire des systèmes résilients et durables pour la santé, et également promouvoir, protéger les droits de la personne et l'égalité entre les sexes, et aussi mobiliser des ressources accrues. Diapo, toujours sur les points de discussion. Diapo. Toujours pour les points de discussion, les Allô? Vous m'entendez? Il y a une interférence. Allô?
Oui, on t'entend là.
Oui,
we can hear you.
Dans les discussions, les organisations de population clés doivent se regrouper en réseau pour une action commune. Il y a aussi le fait qu'on doit avoir un renforcement de capacité pour les organisations de travail de sexe afin d'être plus performantes. Il y a aussi, nous avons discuté sur le fait qu'il doit y avoir une étroite collaboration entre les récipiendaires principaux et les sous-récipiendaires afin d'avoir un dépistage optimal, c'est-à-dire de pêcher là où il y a le poisson. Nous avons discuté aussi sur le fait que la stratégie du Fonds mondial à travers le nouveau modèle de financement, il doit y avoir l'implication directe des organisations de population clés pour qu'elles puissent comprendre le Fonds mondial et également le nouveau modèle de financement. Ils ont dit que, lors des rencontres, ils ont dit que les représentants des travailleurs de sexe au niveau des CCM doivent avoir, le besoin il faut que leurs besoins soient tenus en compte dans les plans stratégiques nationaux. Et de savoir que les travailleurs de sexe peuvent saisir directement le Fonds mondial si leurs besoins ne sont pas tenus en compte dans les plans stratégiques nationaux. Et de retenir que les populations clés sont les nouveaux piliers du nouveau modèle de financement et qu'il faut des nouvelles initiatives pour capter des fonds. Nous avons discuté aussi le fait qu'il faudrait que nous comprenions que le Fonds mondial ne finance pas les médicaments IO, c'est-à-dire pour les infections opportunistes. Et de comprendre qu'il faut nous préparer à l'après-Fonds mondial et de réfléchir sur des stratégies novatrices et pérennes. Parce que nous pensons que le Fonds mondial va quitter tôt ou tard et il faudrait qu'on pense à changer et d'avoir d'autres ressources. Vas-y, Diapo. 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 En conclusion, c'est-à-dire les conclusions, c'est comme sous forme de challenge, c'est-à-dire que ce sont des défis. Les récipiendaires principaux et les sous-récipiendaires ne peuvent pas faire les activités seuls. Donc, ils doivent soucier davantage les organisations de travail afin d'avoir plus d'impact, car elles disposent d'un ancrage communautaire qui est très considérable. Il y a aussi le fait que les représentants des travailleurs de sexe au niveau des CCE doivent être capacités davantage. Nous avons remarqué que nos représentants au niveau des CCM ne comprennent pas parfois le langage du CCM et parfois ont des difficultés à faire un suivi. Je donne juste une citation du travail de... Oui? C'est bon? C'est bon? Vous m'entendez? Oui, j'ai dit que par rapport au challenge, nous avons vu que les représentants des travailleurs de sexe au niveau des CCM ont des difficultés pour suivre, c'est-à-dire elles doivent être renforcées davantage afin de comprendre le langage même du CCM et de mieux défendre les priorités des travailleurs de sexe. Je donne juste une citation d'une travailleuse de sexe au Sénégal qui a participé aux sessions de renforcement. Elle a dit que depuis que je milite dans la réponse au VIH à nos jours, c'est la première fois que je reçois des informations précises et claires, importantes sur le Fonds mondial. Donc, elle a dit qu'un atelier de telle envergure venu à son heure devrait être démultiplié si on veut favoriser l'éveil des consciences pour le bon développement des associations. Voilà, en conclusion toujours, il y a des photos sur les activités que j'ai pu mener en tant que père qui a pu fournir une assistance technique pour ses pairs. Beaucoup.
Lala.
Oui. Oui.
I think this was
Oui, oui.
her last slide. Lala, are you there?
Ce sont des... Oui, ce sont des photos des activités de renforcement de capacité que j'ai pu faire sur l'assistance technique sur le Fonds mondial durant ces années pour le Sénégal, la RDC et également pour le Rwanda.
Thank you so much, Lala. Thank you for sharing those experiences. And I think with those experiences now, we are going to move forward to the very interesting session whereby Maria from Global Fund is going to give us the overview of the community engagement technical assistance. Here, I'm sure from this presentation, we will all get to understand more about the TA. So welcome, Maria.
Hi, everyone. Glory, feel free to pull up the presentation. Wonderful. So hi, everyone. My name is Masha Golovanievska. I work together with Gemma in the Community Engagement Strategic Initiative. And I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk about the short-term technical assistance that's available through our program and how you can access it. Next slide, please. Gemma did a really wonderful job giving an overview of the ASI, so I'm not going to spend that much time talking about it. I'll just say that today we're really going to be focusing on component 1, so the short-term peer-to-peer technical assistance. Next slide, please. And again, Gemma mentioned that each of the components has their own sub-objectives, and we'll focus on the first one. And the objective of our short-term TA program is really to provide very time-bound, peer-to-peer technical assistance on a range of topics. So human rights, gender, community responses, community system strengthening, to really support communities and civil society to participate in Global Fund related processes, to engage in Global Fund grants across the entire grant cycle. Next slide, please. We developed a really great video on both the strategic initiative itself, but also specifically on the technical assistance piece. So I really encourage you in your spare time to go and check out this video to get a little bit more information about us. And maybe, Gemma, you can pop the link in the chat if you don't mind. Next slide, please. So very quickly, who can apply for CRG technical assistance? We developed kind of these 5 broad stakeholder categories. One is key population networks and organizations, including, of course, networks and organizations that are led by sex workers. These could be unregistered initiatives, which I think is important to mention. They don't necessarily have to be SRs or SSRs or PRs. The next is youth-led networks and organizations, women's networks and organizations, networks and organizations of people living with HIV or affected by TB and malaria, and also civil society networks and organizations that are working or are led by other communities, migrants, refugees, minors, for instance. So what type of support could be relevant here? Again, we have these kind of three very broad buckets to help us think about the kind of support that we offer. One is around just generating strategic information. So situation analysis and needs assessment. For instance, this could be about identifying barriers related to human rights or to gender as it relates to HIV and TB services and faced by sex workers. We could also support, for instance, review of the current grant and look at the way programs are designed for sex workers in the current grant to develop basically a set of recommendations for how to improve program design so that it's much more responsive to the needs of the sex worker community. The second category is engaging in country dialogue processes. So this could be consultations, broad consultations, the sex worker community to think about what is important to the sex worker community in country X, how to cost these priority interventions. And this could be related to, for instance, the National Strategic Plan, or it could be priorities to be included in the next funding request. It's also about developing engagement plans. So how to get engaged in global fund processes. Our support could help identify strategic opportunities or entry points for the sex worker community to really try to influence the various global fund related processes that are happening in the country over the next year or two. It's also about, for instance, developing an advocacy strategy with the sex worker community, either to influence global fund grants or, for instance, to influence various policies that are affecting access to services in a particular country. And the third category is around supporting design and implementation arrangements. And what that really means is at the stage of grant implementation, once the grant has already been signed, for instance, it could be about mapping sex worker organizations in a particular country so that, for instance, we know who is working where, not just in urban settings, but also in rural settings. It could also be about doing workshops to learn how the Global Fund functions and how the Global Fund processes are set up. We know the Global Fund is a very complicated entity. So I think this might be particularly interesting for newer communities, for newer organizations, networks that are looking to learn a little bit more about the Global Fund processes. Next slide, please. Wonderful. So this is just some of the examples of the TA assignments that are either being completed, that are ongoing, or are currently in the pipeline stages. And you could see that often sex workers are engaged as part of the broader key population consultation process. And I have to say that we don't receive as many TA requests as we would like from sex worker led organizations and networks. So we really encourage those submissions, and I'm really glad that we're having this conversation today to try and get more TA requests from the sex worker community. Next slide, please. Just in the interest of time, I'm not going to dwell too much on this part because I know the EANNASO colleagues are going to talk about this. I will just say a couple of things. So one, it takes us approximately 3 months from the moment that we receive a TA request to the moment when we actually put together a team of experts that are ready to start working on the technical assistance assignment. And I say this so that you are able to plan ahead. So if you know, for instance, that there are certain processes that are going to be happening in the country, like development or a review of the national strategic plan, you can kind of plan ahead. The other thing that I wanted to say is that our implementation is very kind of time bound, right? So we orient ourselves approximately to 3 months duration. So it's kind of very focused. And we are thinking about it in terms of approximately 30 expert days for the consultant. So it's quite focused and it happens quite sort of quick. And then just in terms of criteria, what we look at when we receive a TA request. So one is we look at eligibility. What is the broad sort of category of a stakeholder that this request is coming from? One of those 5 categories that I've just described. We also look to see whether the relevant CRG regional platform has been consulted in developing of this TA request. We really encourage it, and I really urge you to reach out to the relevant CRG regional platform early to discuss the TA request. We also look at how the TA request is linked to the Global Fund related processes in the country. There's a space in the TA request form to give us a little bit of context about what's happening in the country. And then, for instance, how will the products of this TA assignment help you influence these same processes that are happening in the country? Another important point here is how will this strengthen engagement of your community? So while the request can come from an individual organization, what we look for is that it benefits a broader community, so the sex worker community more broadly, or several communities. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we look at for how it fits with one of these 3 broad sort of technical assistance buckets that I talked about earlier. We look at who has been consulted in developing the TA request. And then we also look to see if you have any specific preferences. For instance, is there a particular language consideration that we need to keep in mind, just to ensure that the TA really responds to your needs? Next slide, please. So just one quick word about how we are hoping to support communities as we begin to prepare for the new funding request cycle. Next slide, please. We've introduced just a couple of changes to the TA request form. And again, the CRG regional platforms, our colleagues in EANNASO, our colleagues in RAM, are going to be able to guide you through that process. But we try to make it very easy, basically, to select number of TA activities that you might need as they relate to NFM4 process. So around consultations, around getting the information, strategic information, the data that you might need to try to influence the funding request development process. And we're also offering support with costing priorities. This is also very important, and I think often a big barrier to kind of developing robust submissions. One thing I'll say also is that we do not yet know when the countries are going to be submitting their funding requests as part of NFM4. The Global Fund will communicate the official submission windows closer to the end of the year. But we can kind of speculate based on last submission window in NFM3. So this is just important to know, and I'm mentioning this because we're going to need a little bit more time to mobilize TA for NFM4 requests. And we're asking TA requesters to basically give us at least 6 months from when we think the country will submit their funding request. So you have to kind of count backwards. So if a country will submit a TA request, say at the end of March 2023, we really are hoping that the TA request will come in by the end of September. So in just a couple of months, actually. And this is because we need a little bit of time to mobilize the TA. The TA itself will take about 3 months. And then you will also need the time to use those deliverables. Next slide, please. So Gemma already referred to our great, I think, website. Has a lot of really useful information. Has the TA request forms in several languages. It has the guidance note, which talks about how to fill out the application, what's eligible. It has our list of TA providers, so technical assistance providers that we work with, and you can consult that list. And also a link to several videos that we developed as part of this process. Next slide, please. And this is our email address. Please feel free to reach out. And this is the address that you would also use to submit the TA request. That's it from me. Gloria, I wonder if in the interest of time, you want me to skip going over the high quality TA request form, if that's something that you might do as part of your presentation, or if you'd like me to do this now.
I think
you can do it. You can do it, Masha.
Great. Okay, so then I'll ask you to pull it up. Fantastic. So we on this website that I just pointed you to, we also have an example of what a high quality TA request looks like. It has these, you'll see these yellow bubbles that are kind of tips for what to really sort of focus your attention on and what to think about when you're filling out the TA request. So this TA request is from a hypothetical organization, Guyana Trans United. And you'll see that they've marked the type of the organization, key population, network, and organization. Here you see the first bubble. If you could just scroll down a little bit more. Great, thanks. You'll see that the TA requester left approximately a 3-month buffer from when the request is submitted to when they're hoping to start the assignment. And this is, again, to give us a little bit of time to put the team together to really make sure that we have a quality TA assignment process in place. And of course, if it's urgent, you can also indicate that there's a space in the TA request form to say that this is urgent and it needs to be prioritized. Then you'll see that we have, for instance, that this TA requester has indicated that they've consulted with other organizations, or in this case, Global Network, GATE. Again, we really encourage broad consultations in developing these TA request forms. Next slide, or rather scroll down, please. So background and rationale, you see here that the TA requester really tried to describe the processes that are currently happening in the country and how this TA assignment might help to influence some of these processes. So again, that link between what's happening in the country and the TA assignment is really crucial. Let's scroll down. So this section around 1.3, how will technical assistance strengthen the engagement of civil society and communities? Again, this relates to this question that even though individual organizations can submit requests for TA, they really, really need to show how it's benefiting the community more broadly, how it's empowering the community of sex workers in the country. Then you'll see also that the TA requester indicated the type of communities that will benefit from this technical assistance. In this case, it's transgender people. You could tick several boxes if there are several communities that are participating in this process. You'll see that they've also indicated what areas of technical assistance are requested. And here we're really asking to prioritize, because it is a short-term TA. It's around 30 days, 3 months. It really needs to kind of speak to the real needs kind of on the ground. So really kind of choose the TA track strategically, and the CRG regional platforms can definitely help you in thinking about that. Next, please. You could scroll down. This is the scope of work. So here you would describe the kinds of activities that would be requested or that would be needed. And again, we could help you with this. The CRG regional platforms could help you articulate this. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, you'll see here that we're asking, how will the outputs of this TA assignment be used? So these reports, the consultation reports, or mapping of priorities, how will you be using them as it relates to the processes that are happening in the country? And we're also asking you to indicate the approximate time frame in which you will be using and applying the results of the TA assignment. Next slide, or scroll down, please. And then last part that I wanted to highlight, if you just scroll down a little bit more, you can see that here you can articulate in 3.4 the types of skill set that you would like to see in that consultant. And then a little bit further down, please. Just a little bit further down. If you can scroll down a little bit more. Yeah. So you'll see that there's other information that might be relevant. And here we really ask you to indicate whether you've consulted and reached out to the relevant CRG regional platforms. So for instance, to EANNASO colleagues, to RAM colleagues, and we'll ask you also to indicate who you might have consulted in this process. So again, everything is on the website. It will also, I think, be shared with you. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, and you can also reach out to the CRG regional platform colleagues. We're really happy to work with you on developing a good and robust technical assistance request. So that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for the very well detailed information. And I believe after this now, we are going to receive a lot of TA requests from our colleagues. Yeah, and we are ready to receive and support them. So this time I welcome Ida to take us through the Q&A. If colleagues have questions from your presentation and the others' presentation. So Ida, please welcome to help us in receiving questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Glory. I'm Ida Savadogo. I'm the coordinator of the Francophone Africa CRG platform. I see that there are some questions in the chat box. Maybe we can begin by those questions, and I invite those who have questions, they can type their question in the chat box, or you can also raise your hand. And so let me see the written questions. I think I just want also to inform people that Gemma has given the link of the video concerning technical assistance, and also some example of high quality technical assistance requests that is in English. There has been a question concerning what is CRG. I think this question is addressed to Gemma. What is CRG platform, please? From Iswamani. And before that, there is a question from Equal Right. He made a comment and he asked if there is any plan for recipient to give details financial report or feedback to implementing partners to ensure sex workers know how the money was used and what it was used. And there is a need for bilateral accountability and transparency. This is a comment. This question, I think, is addressed to Maria, I think, Masha. Okay, let me see if there is another question again in the chat box. I think it is all for the chat box. No, there is another question from Equal Right. What type of skills and knowledge is required to successfully execute formative research before the next grant cycle, and how can CRG support? I think this question is addressed both to Gemma and Masha. And the last question from Evelyn, how do we get a TA request form? I think this is addressed to Masha also. So these are questions written. I think I will collect all the questions and then give the floor to the presenter. So I will give the floor to Medine Tambu, who want to speak. Medine Tambu, you can ask your question. Medine, are you with us? It seems that he is not ready. So yeah. I will give the floor to Equal Right for all movement. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. You know, the last presenter spoke about, I saw within her slides there were targets, and specific to click the box, there were sex workers and transgender persons. And I think currently with the Global Fund targets, when people speak about sex workers, it's more about female sex workers, which is exclusive of male and transgender sex workers. We must remember we have two groups of transgender people, transgender women or diverse people who aren't sex workers.
Nadine, please mute yourself, excuse me. Nadine, please mute yourself for the moment. Yes, thank you. Okay, go on. Please.
And then we have transgender persons who are sex workers, who necessarily are not part of the trans people who do not conform to sex work or who are not within the sex workers industry. And I think we must be very clear when we talk about sex workers, is it inclusive of trans and male sex workers, or are we specifically speaking to female sex workers? And there is an area that must be cleared, because it brings exclusion of a transgender woman like me, who is a sex worker, who is later labeled as a transgender person. And there, as a country right now, we do not have data that speaks about transgender women. How many transgender women are on ART, for example? How many are virally suppressed? How many are on PrEP? Simply because we speak about transgender persons and sex workers that is focused on FSW.
Okay. Thank you for the question. Now we are going to Medine. You can ask your question now. Medine, you have the floor. Hello, Medine, are you with us? We can't hear you. You can speak in French or in English. Vous pouvez parler en français, il y a un traducteur.
Oui, vous m'entendez?
Oui, on vous entend, allez-y.
Merci. Je suis Medine. Je vous appelle depuis Congo-Brazzaville.
Ok.
Oui, je suis président de l'UAFPA, une organisation des professionnels des sexes.
Oui, nous vous écoutons. Vous avez une question?
Voilà, j'ai une question et une préoccupation en même moment.
Okay.
Maintenant, l'assistance technique est très importante pour nous. Vraiment, on a suivi ça avec beaucoup d'attention et on sait bien qu'on va s'impliquer et on va s'impliquer sur ça. Mais il y a un autre problème que je vais soulever. Nous sommes impliqués, c'est depuis 2014 que nous sommes dans l'écriture, dans la demande de subventions. Nous sommes là, on s'implique, nous sommes là, mais à la fin, je ne sais pas si le Fonds mondial vraiment a l'œil, bien que c'est l'argent du pays, c'est le pays qui est là, mais je ne sais pas s'il a quand même un œil comme garde-fou pour tout ce qu'il nous donne comme argent. Puisqu'on voit qu'on s'implique, on se bat pour que les professionnels de sexe soient pris en compte convenablement. Mais à la fin, pendant la mise en œuvre, les bénéficiaires principaux, les sous-bénéficiaires principaux, c'est là où maintenant tout se gaspille. Là, vraiment, les professionnels de sexe sont mis de côté et créer leurs histoires pour que vraiment les vrais bénéficiaires ne soient pas pris en compte. Moi, je pense que vraiment, avec tout ça, Maria est là, ils peuvent nous dire bien que tout ce qui se passe vraiment, il y a une grande discrimination. Nous sommes là pour la mobilisation. Quand ça ne marche pas, nous sommes au premier plan. On défend notre cause. Mais pendant la mise en œuvre, pendant l'utilisation des fonds, c'est là où toutes les couleurs se lèvent. Maintenant, vraiment, l'assistance technique, nous en avons besoin et que nous voulons que ça puisse aussi avoir de l'impact pour tout ce que nous allons dire. Que le Fonds mondial ne dit pas toujours que c'est le problème des pays, c'est le pays qui prend la décision. Nous, on n'est pas là pour gérer votre pays. Mais quand on doit penser aussi à mettre des garde-fous, quand il y a de telles discriminations, qu'ils se lèvent aussi pour dire que voilà telle institution ou bien voilà ce qu'on peut faire pour cette minorité, ne soit pas toujours mise à l'écart et qu'ils puissent mieux se défendre.
Okay. Merci, Medine. I think I will a little bit translate it for those who didn't hear. I think there is a problem of translation with our interpreters. So I think Medine made a comment, two parts. First part is concerning the real use of the found in the ground. Because she said that in Congo-Brazzaville, where she come from, they don't really benefit from the grant from the PR and ASWA, and she wants the Global Fund to be aware of that and to pay attention in the fact that communities really don't benefit from the funds that are given to PR and SR. So this is, I think, a comment. Maybe Gima or Maria can say something about it. And also, she wants that the Global Fund ensure that the technical assistance really reach the population, really reach the communities that is addressed. This is some comment from Medine. So now I can give the floor. I think there are some questions for our two representatives of the CRC department. Maybe I can give the floor first to Gemma and then Maria. Thank you.
Sure. I have been trying to answer some questions in the chat box. I think there was a very good question about, how do we be more inclusive when we talk about sex workers? Actually, a few people have said this. The presenter spoke about male sex workers from South Africa. The presenter from Kenya also spoke about sex workers who use and inject drugs. And then another very key point from the floor about transgender sex workers. And this may be trans female sex workers, trans male sex workers, but we need to have that inclusive thinking. So one of the things that our technical assistance could support is a needs assessment, which is sort of a fancy way of saying, of gathering this information and putting it in a way that you can take it to your country coordinating mechanism or your principal recipients or other implementers to say, look, here is the data on the challenges, barriers to accessing services, unmet needs, what else? So it can help you to advocate for resources and programming that target the most marginalized sex workers. So that, I think, is a good idea. If you wanted to submit a request to do a needs assessment among transgender sex workers, male sex workers who use drugs. Migrant sex workers is another issue in many countries in Africa. That would be something we can support.
Thank you, Gemma. So, Masha, do you want to add something?
Maybe I'll just add on this last point that Medine made about programs not reaching the people that they're designed for, and so I think in this instance, a community of sex workers could, for instance, apply for to request a review of programs that are being implemented in the course of the current grant for sex workers to see who they're reaching, who they're not reaching, how these programs could be improved, how the services could be strengthened. And then develop a set of recommendations, and this could either inform the current grant or it could also inform the next funding request, so that there is an opportunity for improvement. So that's something that we would be able to also work with you on.
Okay, thank you very much for this. So Medine, vous pouvez demander une assistance technique pour la revue des subventions dans votre région. Donc, n'hésitez pas à nous contacter au niveau de la plateforme. Comme ça, on pourra vous assister pour rédiger cette demande.
Vous avez dit la demande d'assistance pour évaluer les besoins des travailleurs de sexe. Vous avez donné deux exemples sur la demande qui sont pertinents. La première et la deuxième, là, je n'ai pas bien saisi. Allô? Allô?
Sorry, I'm sorry, Ida, I missed the translation on that one. Maybe you could repeat?
Really, I also miss it. Vous pouvez reprendre, s'il vous plaît, parce que j'étais dans la boîte de... Vous pouvez reprendre en français, s'il vous plaît. J'étais dans le box de l'anglais. Je n'ai pas saisi. Deuxième question.
Oui, je voudrais seulement... Je n'ai pas bien saisi. Puisque quand Maria a dit, il y a... si la demande est pertinente, il y a que vous pouvez faire chez nous, chez les professionnels, chez nous, pour ma préoccupation, il a parlé de demande, la demande d'assistance sera beaucoup sur l'évaluation des besoins ou quelque chose comme ça que je n'ai pas bien suivi.
D'accord, il n'y a pas de problème. Vous pourrez nous contacter, on pourra avoir de plus amples échanges. Ensemble, nous allons vous guider dans la rédaction de votre demande. Oui. Ça pourra être sur l'analyse des besoins, ça pourra être sur une revue de programme, c'est ça. On va identifier ensemble vos besoins. Gloria, I think time is running up. I will give you back the floor for the flowing.
I can't hear you. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Glory.
Yes, it's
we hear
okay,
you.
Glory. I give you the floor for the following item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ida. Thank you so much, colleagues, for those questions. I think we are satisfied. And if you still have some questions, you can still put them on the chat box. And now, I just invite Lewa just to give us a very, very brief presentations on the key steps, or just to say how can the platform now support you colleagues to submit your TA. I know most of the information you have already received, but this is just very, very brief to direct you on how you can engage with the platform. Welcome, Lewa.
Thank you so much. Let's go to slide 2. I start with the last slide, then I will quickly just look at this. Yes. So I think what Gemma and Masha has just presented is how basically you can actually access technical assistance. And I saw someone saying, where can I get the form? I mean, the website, that the link that has actually been provided normally has the link to the form. So you just click in there, and then there is also a technical guide where you just gives you a technical brief of how to go through it, how you can actually read it. So where does the platform come in? You are not alone in a jungle. That's why we're here. We are actually here to handhold you. So what we normally do, like we are doing today, starting from the blue smaller circle up there, support you with information on ongoing country grants and their focus. What we are trying to do, the short-term technical assistance, is basically trying to maximize the impact of already the ongoing country global fund grants or processes that are towards ensuring that we maximize impact of the global fund grants in country. So we work with you, we'll provide you more information. We have all received, for instance, requests like, I don't know what the technical areas that are being covered by our country global fund grants, and it's difficult to get it from the PRs. So if you need more information on the current country global fund grants, we are actually able to provide that for you. We'll provide that information for you so that your technical assistance is actually aligned to already supporting either processes that are ongoing and there are gaps, or we are actually planning to do something that's actually going to help us engage better in global fund and national processes. So we also support you, we'll give you support to understand what the short-term TA means. And this is basically what you have been doing today. It's normally our starting point. We give you information on what short-term technical assistance is, because most of the time, you'll find that when opportunities like this come, people think that this is a long-term grant. But if you look at what Masha has just presented, this is a short-term technical assistance that will last to about 30 days. So most of the time, it's actually specific activity focused, specific activity focused, so that you want to do some mapping and you're doing some mapping. You want to do some kind of dialogues among your communities, you do a particular dialogue. So because people are tempted to tick all the boxes, because everything is nice and we want to do all this. By the time you come into looking at how many days you need this to happen, it's coming to 200 days, and that becomes a long-term engagement. And something that probably I would want to let you know what we actually, when we get into the engagement, is that it's not like when you request for a particular technical assistance, then you can't come back and request for another technical assistance. You can always come back and request for another technical assistance in as long as there is need, and actually there is a gap that you need to fill in. So don't feel pressured to tick all the boxes and then you end up with a program that is running for 2 years because you want to do everything at the same time. I mean, pick something that is specific that you can actually be able to move to. So we'll help you actually go through your form, support you into picking the right need of the moment, so that you can have a very focused technical assistance request like the one we have just been shown for the hypothetical country. And then we don't also just leave you to do everything on your own. You will do your draft technical assistance request, in as much as there is the link down there that you're supposed to submit to the Global Fund. We always request that once you have done your draft tier request, share it with the platform, share it with us, so that we'll help you to review. We normally go through step by step with, have we picked the right eligibility area? Is it aligned to the needs of the moment? How is it actually maximizing impact with the current Global Fund grants? What other processes are building up onto it? So that at the end of the day, then your TA becomes something that is going to add value to the communities that you're actually representing. So don't feel lost, don't feel alone. We are here actually to work with you. We'll actually support you to review your TA requests almost line by line before you actually tell you now, this TA you can actually submit to CRG. And that way then it shortens the time for actually reviewing this TA and approving it. I can see the presentation has disappeared. Roderick, I don't know. But yes, thank you. Then once we have done this, all the time we like documenting the impact of the TA work that we do. So that if you have actually received TA, what are the lessons that we can actually tell others? What is the impact? What is the case story we can actually tell? We love doing this. So when we get back to you and say, let's document the impact of the work that you did in this TA. What was it? How did it benefit the communities? How did it benefit the country processes? This is all in profiling the work we do, so that we can actually further increase the demand for this short-term technical assistance, because indeed they really do help us a lot. And of course, we also look at the eligibility criteria of your TA, and this box actually should have been come earlier, where we actually support you to understand better the TA means. So this is how the platform helps you to actually write a quality TA. So let's go to the first slide, Roderick, which I'll not talk to it much, because this is basically what has actually been presented by Gemma and Masha. We normally share these slides, this slide to all the communities that we work with. It gives you a snapshot of what actually needs to be done. It has all the links that you actually require for you to be able to access the right information and forms that you need. So we normally share this with our communication platforms. So if any one of us is still not part of our communication platforms, we'll encourage you to be part of our communication platforms, so that we share such snapshots that actually tells you, am I eligible to apply for this? And then once you have looked at this, then we normally take it up further, and then we engage with you, we guide you on how to actually write your TA request, so that then it becomes eligible. So thank you very much. This is what I wanted to just share with you, knowing that for this opportunity, you are not all alone. It's not like a grant application where you have to do it alone. The platform is just here to actually help you actually do a quality technical assistance that actually addresses a particular need that you are facing at that particular moment, that actually can actually help maximize the impact of Global Fund grants and other country processes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lewa. And now I know we have remained with only 10 minutes. I would like to invite Richard from CHESO just to share a very brief experience on how they managed to secure the TA through the support from the platform. Welcome, Richard. Very briefly, we have a very short time remaining for this webinar. Roderick, please share the presentation.
Thank you, Glory. Thank you very much, Glory. Maybe I put off the microphone to make it clear. So I am from the Children Education Society. Next slide, please. My name is Richard Shilamba. I work with the Children Education Society. Maybe for those who are not aware, briefly, the Children Education Society is a local NGO in Tanzania empowering communities to remove barriers hindering HIV-positive women who use unchecked drugs, to eliminate HIV transmission to their babies, and to keep the HIV-positive children alive and healthy for better educational outcomes of their children. So next slide, please. And this our focus is because there is a high mother-child transmission in Tanzania beyond the international benchmark. So I think I just want to mention to emphasize that Article 12.1 of the International Convention on the Rights of the Child obliges state parties Tanzania to ensure that the child who is capable of forming opinion for Tanzania, those aged 14 to under 18 years, they have the right to express those views freely in all matters affecting their lives. And also the law of the Child Act in Tanzania also emphasizing for children to be able to give an opinion to express their opinions on matters affecting their lives, including HIV/AIDS. So we try to empower them, to give them a space to be able to provide their views and reach to them to various organs, in particular children of mothers who use drugs. Next slide. Okay, so CHESO is a member of various network organizations, ALASA, NACOFA, and all active participants in the Global Fund platform, EANNASO, to be able to deepen and help us deepen our understanding and the capacity to be able to ensure that to eliminate HIV transmission from women who use drugs to their babies. Next, please. I understand the time is yes. Okay, so what triggers us to be able to involve it is because in Tanzania, over 100 children live with HIV, and over 90% of HIV infections in children aged below 15 years in the country are due to mother-child HIV transmission. That's why really we have to engage to make sure that there is, in particular, women who use drugs to be able to eliminate transmission to the babies. Next slide. Okay, so to be able to ensure that we eliminate mother-child transmission and keep HIV positive alive and healthy, we work and engage HIV positive women who use drugs and also HIV negative who use that to make sure that they remain active. So in July 21, we successfully requested from CRG a technical assistance, which was implemented from October to December 2021. The main foundation was directly provided to CHESO on behalf of the CRG. So our main main objective was to assess the barriers to HIV services faced by women who use drugs and their children, to inform development of the Tanzania Health Sector HIV Strategic Plan 2021 to 2026, and the Global Fund Programming for Effective Elimination of child transmission among HIV positive drugs and to keep their children alive and healthy. Next. Can you go to the next and return to go? So our experience in accessing the TA was in the first place on 29 April 21. CHESO participated in annual webinar organized by EANNASO, which provided us a very clear guidance and attracted our interest to be able to apply for the TA. So the webinar is like this one we are attending today. So I would emphasize that it is very important to attend such webinars. It is the one really create a foundation to be able to be successful in TA application. Even if we are a frequent TA applicant, it is still very important to be able to participate in such TAs and also to follow up and read the assignment or website links that are provided in such kind of meetings. So thanks very much, EANNASO and the team for organizing this seminar, which is a foundation for us to be able to successfully get a TA, and I emphasize everyone to be able to follow on and this kind of seminars. Next, Glory. So there was the CHP application process. So it was from July to September 21, the CLG team received the CHES TA application and provided comments for CHES to improve. And we acted on the improvement. So it's all of our experience that when you are requested to make a comment from the CLG team, it's to act on them timely and them to be submitted. So that the CLG team approved with the appreciation the CHES TA application. The TA provide the mainland foundation in the Netherlands, and our local and international consultants were procured by CLG team. And the church was consulted to pre-approve the local international consultants. So the CLG team participatory approach in reviewing TA and in engaging consultants were very good, and they need to be maintained. Thank you for that participatory approach from the CLG team. Next slide. Okay, so implementation experience. So we were able to make a familiarization of the consultant organization, and that was very important for the consultant to be able to know what CHES does, where and how. So it raised the resilience of the consultants to be able to do their work effectively. Next. We can go to the next stage. Okay, thank you. So we did it around table. We were able to engage the women who use that to be able to amplify their voices on what really facing them, hindering them to be able to prevent maternal transmission. So we came up with a report, which we use it for advocacy activities. Next. Okay. So the positive aspect is that the new HIV strategic plan of November 2021 acknowledged many barriers to HIV and health services raised by women who use drug during TA implementation. So the new strategic plan that we are focusing on, it acknowledged the barriers that were raised during the TA. And also many of the HIV health services barriers raised by women who use drug during TA were addressed under the National Health Sector Plan 5, which will be implemented from July 2020 to June 2026. And it will be used as a baseline during development of the Tanzania project proposal to the Global Fund during the upcoming Global Fund cycle 23-25. So this was very crucial that the voices were mainstreamed. Also, the State of 21 report on HIV prevention and the team service barriers for women who use drug and their children was used by members of the Tanzania KB Forum to advocate for barriers to be removed under the PEFA during the development of the PEFA COP22 in Tanzania. So the outcome of the report does not only end ensuring Global Fund implementation program, but also it is helpful for strategic partnership and engagement at council level. So it really has a wider advantage and impact on the ground. Next. Okay, so it also checked the TA enabled to gain a new understanding on the barrier to HIV. We are not aware, so widening and really increasing for effective advocacy activities at country level. The TA has implemented attracted great interest on HIV and drug harm governmental and the government organization to collaborate and work with the organization. So really the TA, it has a broader really advantage. It has even increased our collaboration and the working together with the EANNASO. Next. Next, if any. Okay, so maybe challenges the TA was multifaceted in that it acted a multi-professional, HIV, drug harm, and children. So it's all and the concern maybe due to time, it was difficult to access to manage each of their concerns in 2 months. Okay, there was also a challenge for shifting to Dodoma, the government. So some of the Global Fund implementers were in Dar es Salaam, and the others has shifted to Dodoma. So it created complexities in managing, but we were able to manage. Also, they were still facing limited financial and non-financial resources for CHES to do a TA implementation activity follow-up activities. Thank you. Next. Next, Glory. Here, I thank you very much, very much. The organization work together in the collaborative. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard. Thank you. Colleagues, I see we are just out of time. I don't know if anyone have a Oh, thank you so much, Richard, for sharing your experience. Colleagues, if we have anyone have a question, you can just put it on the chat box since we are out of time. It is now almost 4 o'clock. And with that, if there's a question, please do so, write it. But if there is no any question, then I would like to invite Ida to give us a closing remark. Welcome, Ida.
Okay, thank you very much, Glory. I just want first to thank our partners from the Global Fund, Dema and Masha, who joined us for this webinar. Thank you very much for your support. I also want to thank all our participants for the availability, for the commitment to fight for a better engagement of community engagement in the Africa region. And I want to thank also EANNASO for this opportunity given to us to work together again, and also to have a community to know more about the technical assistance of community engagement. And what I want to recommend for our participants is that we are available for you with a platform, EANNASO and Rationale, assist you to support you in the writing of your technical assistance request. Do not hesitate to contact us, to contact EANNASO, to contact Rationale. I think that as you register to participate in this webinar, your email has been registered by the EANNASO and the presentations will be shared to you. So do not hesitate to use the presentation to learn more about technical assistance requests submission. And also you have the website of the Global Fund where you can find some information about the technical assistance. We have a form there, and also in our website, EANNASO website and Rationale website, you can find some information also how to submit. We have a Francophone platform and EANNASO the Anglophone platform. The Francophone platform concerns mainly Francophone Africa countries in West and Central Africa, and EANNASO platform also concerns Anglophone countries in West, Central, and South, and East also Africa. So do not hesitate to reach us. We are available. Do not hesitate to contact us. We put our emails in the chat box. So thank you all for your participation. And to say together, au revoir, I invite you to open your video so that we will do a photo before leaving, and you can open your micro so that we will stay together. Bye bye, au revoir, et merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup, au revoir.
Thank you so much, Ida. Thank you, colleagues. I know that after remarks is done,
Merci à tout le monde, merci.
Oui, la présidente des jeunes.
Oui.
Merci à tout le monde. La présidente à vie.
À vie des jeunes.
La présidente qui se fatigue jamais.
La présidente ne sait pas.
Sorry, Glory.
Oui, on a bien voulu entendre la présidente.
Ok.
Au revoir à tout le monde.
Au revoir à tout le monde. Au revoir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, ASWA colleagues. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for the mobilization. We are waiting for your TA request.
Okay, thank you, Glory.
D'accord, ok, pas de souci. Hamza.